Good morning and welcome to Church at Home with Rachael for Tuesday, the 5th of October. It's a little chilly in the house here, which means that it is chilly outside, which is awesome because I love the fall. This morning there is a disturbing smell of wood smoke outside, and since my neighbors didn't have a campfire in their backyard last night, I'm kind of wondering where that came from. It's a bit hazy too. I hope all is well. This morning I would like to talk to you about rural communities, and I've been thinking a lot about those lately, but in particular, um, responsibility and how do we think about them. I had the privilege last night of going to the Edgerton Meet the Candidates gathering for the town council. There we have provincially we have elections, municipal elections coming up on the 18th of October, and there are 7 people, I believe, running for 5 council spots for the village of Edgerton. And one of them is one of my parishioners, Dina Jackson, and another is a friend on Facebook, Jennifer Beattie. So um, good to go out and sort of hear what's happening in Edgerton and discover what's important to people. What I learned last night wasn't new, but it really brought some things home. Things like the importance of the school. I believe the school in Edgerton is a K to 12 school, and there's not a lot of students there. And I find it really quite fascinating because coming from the city where the schools have thousands of people in them, and multiple schools, including elementary schools. In Halifax we had junior highs, and then high schools. It seems so different to have one school with all the kids in them, and I find that kind of refreshing. There's something about the idea of growing up in a small town or a village where you can begin kindergarten and graduate from grade 12 having always been to the same gym for the into the auditorium for um, the principal speeches and for award ceremonies and basketball games and all of the things that happen. But it's one central place where everybody in town who has children that go to school gathers and has something in common. And that's something absolutely fascinating about villages is the ability of people to come together, to know their neighbor, even if they don't really know their neighbor. There's a sense of camaraderie and real community. Things like curling rinks and arenas and libraries become places of gathering places where really the work of the town, the village, is being done when the people gather together. They're working on building a splash pad in Edgerton, which is absolutely fantastic given that climate change seems to be making our summers almost unbearable. And having a splash pad, which is a safe place for kids to play with water, where we don't need lifeguards and things like that, that's just an incredible gift. And they're doing a really good job. So if you haven't already contributed, please consider contributing to the fundraising for the Edgerton Splash Pad, because this isn't just a gift to the kids, it's a gift to the whole community. And it's one of the incredible ways that Edgerton really puts itself out there and is showing this, trying hard to be competitive in a world that is increasingly suggesting that to be successful or to be real, you need to be in the city. There is a beauty to our small towns and villages and our hamlets that is overlooked by people who are so focused on city life. And listening to the prospective candidates, the candidates who are seeking to be elected or re-elected to town council, to the village council last night, really gave me a sort of a wake up call that we hear on the news about the Edmonton City Council and what they're doing. And I imagine if I listen to their debates and meet the candidates meetings, there'd be some pretty wild and huge debates about finances and infrastructure. And infrastructure in Edgerton is a lot smaller. One of the candidates mentioned that appropriate growth would be like one new business, one new build of a house a year. I'm kind of hoping that I misheard him because Edgerton needs more than one new business and one new family a year to grow. Edgerton is a beautiful little place with a lot to offer, and it has the potential of being a really lovely, gentle place to raise your children, or to go to retire. And it needs those resources like groceries, and it's got a hardware store, it's got a little grocery store, but it needs those things that make for a community building, some place where people can go. It also sort of struck an idea, sort of me thinking about how might the church contribute to that. I'm not really sure. We have a small and older congregation, and we're working hard just to sort of keep ourselves going at St. Mary's, and we've done an incredible amount of work. The trees have been trimmed, and some folks went out and painted up the windows, and the place looks like it's loved again. It looks fantastic. But how can we take that love that was shown to the building and that is so present within the building when we worship together? How can we take that outside of the building and share it with the community? Because our church is only one little part of Edgerton that loves Edgerton. There are so many pockets of people and businesses that also love Edgerton that we need to learn how to work together. And I'm listening to the folks who they're passionate and they're excited about the idea of being on town council and working together, like with I think it's called ICE, Irma, Chauvin, and Edgerton. They do things like they have last year the folks from Battle River Lodge, the retirement home in Wainwright, went for a bus trips, and they checked out all the Christmas lights in each of the communities and then voted for which one they thought was the best. Little things like that. Those are the things that keep a small town or a rural community going. That incredible ability to work together. The idea that you can find ways to work and get things done that don't have to be done on a grand scale the way they might be done in Edmonton or Calgary, or maybe even a small town like Wainwright. They were looking at ways that they could find to be present and to enhance the community. Not one person gave off the feeling that there was something wrong that needed to be fixed, and that was refreshing in itself, because all too often we hear our politicians and our candidates going on and on about what's wrong with the system. And it was beautiful to see these people of all ages coming out and saying, this is why I'm running, because I love the village of Edgerton, and this is what I want to contribute. One of the questions that some of them were asked was, if you were given $1 million grant with no strings attached, what would you do with it? And I found that to be a fascinating question. What if we all asked that question? What if we all said, let's look at where we are, our community, whether it's our town or our village or the apartment building we live in or our little neighborhood, our street. And if somebody said to us, you have $1 million that you can spend on and for your community, not for yourself, but on and for your community, and there's no limits, you can do whatever you want with it, what would you do? One person talked about the infrastructure, the water and sewer and things like that, and that's incredible. Somebody else talked about investing the money for a year, letting the interest build, but then also taking that year to talk to the members of the community to say, what do we need it for? Someone else mentioned doing things for the young people, supporting the school, creating a skate park, getting that splash pad built, doing things that would enhance the lives of the young people who then graduate from high school and move away for education and may or may not come back. If they have a positive, wonderful, exciting, and joyful upbringing in Edgerton, maybe when they go off to become doctors or lawyers or apprentices in businesses or entrepreneurs, maybe they'll come home back to Edgerton and open those businesses or contribute. I just was really impressed by the attitude and the excitement and the energy for a village of not that many people having the hope that they can do good work. What a great thing. I am so blessed that I was able to be there last night, and it gives me a great deal of hope for our small towns and communities across this country. We need to stand up, and we need to be creative, and we need to remind the urban centers that we are here and we have a lot to offer. And we are part of what makes this country great. So, to all of the small towns, the villages, the hamlets, the rural communities, God bless you and keep on doing what you're doing because you're doing a great job. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachael.